What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast, episode number 22. I'm your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter at @_Cuesta30. Find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. And you can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube still, and on Spreaker, hopefully coming soon to iHeartRadio and Spotify. With me today is a guy that I've wanted to have on for a while because he's been having one hell of a sports year. I wanted to get his perspective. He's one of my brother's friends. You know my brother, David Cuesta. You've heard him on here a few times. Mr. Kyle Burns. What up, Kyle?
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
It's having some fun. Kyle, anywhere on social media people can find you, they can hear your opinions?
Yeah, so on Twitter you can follow me at Burnsy97 with 2 7s, and Snapchat you can follow me, Burnsy97 with 1 7.
Oh, look at that. He's getting a little tricky there with the 7, throwing people off.
Yeah, 1 7 was taken, so
no, I had
them. Too.
So the reason I say that Kyle's having a good sports year is because for some damn reason, Kyle's a Philadelphia sports fan. I always want to ask you, why the hell are you a Philadelphia sports fan?
Well, my dad grew up in the Pennsylvania area, and he was always a big Philadelphia sports fan, so as soon as I was born, he took me to Phillies games, Eagles games, and some basketball games.
So he poisoned you early. Like, he couldn't just leave well enough alone and let him wallow and suffer. He had to bring you with him.
Yeah, pretty much. It was cool though, you know, being a young kid, going to all these games and stuff, and being introduced to it early. It was a cool experience, and you know.
I gotta ask you, did he throw snowballs at Santa? Was he at that game?
No. That was a little while ago. It was not at that
one. But you know, speaking of some of the most worst fans on the planet in terms of actual human beings, fly Eagles fly, Philadelphia Eagles. Holy crap! I talk about sports all the time, and I did not expect the Eagles to have the year that they had. I don't think you expected the Eagles. I think you expected them to be good. I think you expected Wentz to take the next step. I don't think you thought Super Bowl, especially with Nick Foles. What is your reaction to the Super Bowl win?
Oh man, it was absolutely insane. I mean, to even be there in the Super Bowl in the first place. I mean, I had my doubts, obviously, but once you got into the game, you saw Nick Foles was making good throws, and like this was going to be an actually good game. I was super excited, and then when they finally pulled off the win, man, it was insane. The whole family was going crazy, and no one in my family liked the Patriots, so everyone was over my house, and the place went wild for the whole night. It was amazing.
So you know the obvious highlight was the Philly call. That's the most important call. I think that's one of the biggest calls that's going to go down in history. It's going to be up there with the David Tyree helmet catch. Like that's
absolutely insane.
Did you guys go absolutely crazy when you saw Nick Foles catch the ball and walk into the end zone? And it's not even 10 minutes after Tom Brady tried to do the same exact thing and failed. Like, did that make it even better?
That's what made it better. Seeing Tom Brady hit him in the hands and hit the ball. And then just see Nick Foles just catch it with ease and stroll into the end zone. It was such a good feeling. It was so amazing. Just a cool play from the beginning. It was pretty awesome. Yeah,
and it was cool. And and you guys got to reap the benefits of Doug Peterson really gambling, and it paid off. Now, I don't know if you listen. I had my good buddy Chuck Williams, who's also an Eagles fan. He's the female head coach over at Marist Track and Field. He's a big Eagles fan. He just got the Eagles tattooed on him because he said if they win it, he would get the logo tattooed. So we got it tattooed on his bicep, which is sick.
That is awesome.
But I asked him, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Doug Peterson gambled, and it worked. Now, Philly fans, the Philly area is, it's not quite the New York scene because the notoriety is not as big, but they're brutal. If Peterson continues to gamble and say they have a down year this year, maybe go 9-7, 10-6, make the playoffs but aren't as good because these gambles cost them, can we see maybe a 2-year shelf life with this type of guy? Because, you guys kept Andy Reid around forever, but Andy Reid was safe. Where Peterson takes a lot of chances. Can you see the fan base turning on him if he makes a lot of these gambles and they fail?
I don't think so. I think he's being reasonable with the gambles at least, and even if he does start to push the gambles, still the first coach to lead them to a Super Bowl.
But I mean, but Philly. But the thing is, you look at it. Philly doesn't work. If the Philly special doesn't work, it's a different game. The momentum shifts. Maybe it's a field goal instead of 7. The Patriots get the ball. Tom Brady does Tom Brady things. Like, it could have been one of the worst play calls in Super Bowl history, where they could have been, oh no, run the ball. You have 2 big guys. You have Aguilar who's playing well. Like, there could have been so many questions about it.
It could have gone a completely different direction for sure. And
Philly fans aren't the most forgiving people on the planet.
If somehow it didn't work and we ended up losing that Super Bowl, it would. I don't think fans would be happy with them. They'd be in a riot for a while. But I don't know. I still think you stick with him. He's turned. I just think he's turned around the organization. Honestly, we're going to. Because Chip Kelly was pretty bad, so
he was good and then he wasn't. He got figured out quickly. That was his issue. He got figured out.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know. I don't think it could get much worse than that. Just seeing the worst of it, honestly. So I don't know. I think he's here to stay. I don't think there'd be a 2-year shelf life for him. I think we could live with the gambles.
All right, so that I have one fan with Chuck that says he probably has a short shelf life if he really takes and Chuck, to defend Chuck, he's been around about 10 years more than me, which means almost 20 years more than you. So he might have seen a little more than you to kind of back up, but you're also a diehard fan, so you got your opinions that are valid as well. We're sports opinions here. There is no opinion that isn't valid. So we're going to talk about the upcoming year now. Cool things here that I saw. I'm looking at the Eagles transactions, and I saw Deuce Staley's been promoted to assistant head coach and running backs coach. Now, Deuce Staley is honestly, he's one of the most underrated running backs in the history of football, I think. If he didn't have his injury history, he'd be going down a lot better light. I think it's really cool that he has this position. I know he was in the talks to potentially be the Giants head coach at one point. Do you think Deuce is going to get his chance as a head coach maybe even next year?
I think he could, honestly. I think he's a great coach, and the way he's been managing the backfield last year with all the running backs, and I think he's going to have a great year this year as well with Jai and Clement coming back, and Clement obviously going to be more involved. And I think he's going to, I think he's going to handle it well. And I think he's going to stand out on the team, especially as an assistant now.
Now I'm looking at this, and I got to stop you because I actually have a big problem with your coaching staff. Quickly, so I see Mike Groh is the offensive coordinator. Now, Mike Groh, I just looked it up. He happens to be the son of one guy named Al Groh, who is literally the worst coach in Jets history, and it's not close. So I think that may be your jinx right there on why you guys, because the last name Groh makes my stomach turn.
I don't know how that one's going to go. We'll see, but
now, Peterson makes most of those calls, so it's kind of like one of those safe things where Groh is kind of just going to be like an opinion, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's going to take a backseat usually, because Peterson likes to call his own plays a lot of the time.
God, you hope he takes a backseat.
He'll definitely take his opinion into account, so we'll see how he influences it.
Definitely. Now, we're going to move on from the coaching staff, because while they're important, the most important guys are obviously the dudes on the field. A sad one probably for you, the Eagles released Brent Selleck. He was a long-time Eagles great. He was around from the McNabb time, and he's just made play after play. The dude's played hurt, undersized for his position. He was never the biggest tight end, but he could still block. Just a little bit. Like, I don't know. I probably watched more of Brent Selleck being older than you, but from what you saw from Brent, does that one kind of hurt you watching him get released?
Yeah, it hurts. He's been around for a long time and been extremely loyal to Philadelphia and the fans, and just loves the city. Honestly, it's great to see him finally get a ring after all his hard work, and it's sad to see him go.
Do you think he's going to retire, or do you think he's going to try and play a few more years?
I think he's going to retire. I think it's a pretty good, solid way to end it. I don't know if he wants to play anywhere else, honestly. But you never know. I mean, it'd be pretty cool to end it on a Super Bowl, I think.
Absolutely. So, I could see him retiring, coming back in that one-day contract, coming back, getting his time, and, just getting a big round of applause, which he'll deserve. Maybe if you dress up as Santa, some snowballs thrown at him, who knows?
It might happen.
He might do it just to invite it, because he's that type of dude. He embraces the culture. We're going to talk some other people, a big move you guys made. Now, you guys made a few big moves, which, it's the rich get richer. Guys obviously want to come play. Michael Bennett was acquired. Now, Michael Bennett comes with his baggage. He comes with his opinion, which, isn't obviously going to hurt in Philly, because you guys had Jenkins, who held his opinion, but also did it in I think a classier way than the Bennetts typically do. But maybe he'll get a little mesh there, and he'll be able to put his opinion out there a little bit better. But Michael Bennett comes. He's obviously a freak of a player. You also pick up Haloti Ngata, who's going to also... he's not the guy he once was, but he's 100% gonna really help build up that defensive line that was already stout with 9 guys rolling through it. You pick up Mike Wallace, which is another great pick because, you don't know what he has left in the tank, but he adds to a surprising receiving core. You bring back Darren Sproles for another year. You pick up the option on Nelson Aguilar. Your draft, I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about the guys picked up, because you guys picked at the end a lot of the time, so you guys are kind of picking up depth. I see you address tight end with Dallas Goedert. I kind of know a little bit about him. But just, overall, your impressions on what the Eagles have done this offseason. They really haven't lost a good amount. They got rid of Torrey Smith, which, good riddance. He didn't do much besides running a straight line. But your impression on the offseason and how you guys did.
I think we did pretty great, honestly, for the position we're in. We're strapped for cap space and stuff, so obviously I had to get rid of some good depth players, but bringing in the guy and Michael Bennett on the defensive line after losing a couple of guys really going to help keep it where it was, I think. Pickup on Wallace was fantastic because you need another guy on the outside there. After Torrey Smith is gone, and I think it was a great offseason. I think Howard did a great job.
And also a news that this past year happened in April in the offseason. The Eagles and Nick Foles have come to an agreement on a revised 1-year deal for 2018. And what is this website doing? Why is it making noise? Shut up, man. But 2018, a revised contract. It's basically a reward for the deal. They give them a mutual 2019 option, which basically means that either of them could pick up deny it. The contract includes a $2 million bonus, incentives for starting, hitting benchmarks. Now, do you think this was set up in one of two ways? In a way that it gives the Eagles cap flexibility in case they do want to do him a favor and trade him if Wentz is ready to go, because as much as Foles is always going to live in lore because he is the first ever quarterback to win a Super Bowl, but he's not Carson Wentz. Next needs to be Carson Wentz to get you there. If Wentz comes back, shows he's healthy, do the Eagles kind of do the right thing and trade Foles to a contender to give him a shot at another one?
I'd be surprised if they didn't, honestly. I was thinking they were going to do it at the draft, but it obviously makes sense to keep him until Wentz is 100% again. So I could definitely see it happen. I expect it to happen. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept him, but I hope they don't, as much as I don't like saying that, but I think his value drops over time after sitting on the bench for a whole year and also once it's healthy. I don't think you can keep a guy that just won a Super Bowl behind Wentz, because if he falters a little bit, he's not going to get that chance to right his wrong, because automatically fans, whether they want to or not, are going to go, oh, he might be hurt again, pull him out. Or he's not playing well, put Foles in. He won us a Super Bowl. And it really could put a lot of extra pressure on Wentz that he's not going to need. He's going to have a lot of pressure on himself anyway. And when quarterbacks are pressing to keep their job, they play worse. That's just a fact. It doesn't help. So I really think they should trade him. Two things I overlooked. I saw you guys picked up Richard Rodgers for a year, which is a good pickup on tight end. And you also signed Marcus Wheaton, wide receiver, to a 1-year contract. So I think you guys are pretty much set right now.
But, and a lot of things can happen, but you guys added a lot of depth so that if injuries do happen again, you guys are in a good spot.
Yep. It's, I think, a great move. We need more depth at this point, honestly, and those are two great signs as well. But, I mean, showed it last year, next man up mentality can definitely make a difference if that guy steps up.
Without a doubt. Now, speaking of, you're in your division. Obviously, you guys ended up playing well, winning it. We're basically the best team in football for most of the year until Wentz went down, and then took Foles a little bit, but he obviously picked it up. Right now, I don't think the Redskins scare anyone. Alex Smith's a good quarterback, but they seem like they lost a little. I don't trust that defense. Because that was Kirk Cousins' issue. The defense was bad. He had to score every single drive, or otherwise they were losing the game.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Cowboys and the Giants, we're going to talk Cowboys first. Zeke's healthy. Zeke's playing. That has to scare the league. You guys, I think you guys were built to try and stop Zeke. That's why you had this rotation. Do the Cowboys scare you at all? Do you think Dak's going to make that next step? They brought back David Irving. They brought back DeMarcus Lawrence, two best pass rushers. Do the Cowboys make you nervous at all?
Definitely a little. If Dak makes that next step and definitely improves this year.
Now I'm going to stop you. I'm going to mind you. You better watch what you say because you know Dapo and Doc are going to get on you if you don't give them the compliments.
If Dak makes that next step and really turns it on next year, then the Cowboys can definitely be a contender for sure. Zeke is a monster. O-line's a monster. And
they picked up Tavon Austin.
Healthy, they can play well.
They got Tavon, which is another good weapon. They got rid of Dez, but they picked up Tavon Austin, which is a big pickup for them.
That was big.
And they could turn him into like a running back, route runner, receiver type of thing. They have Cole Beasley running underneath. I think they still need that possession guy, unless Butler steps up. He was a guy that stepped up when Dez was hurt 2 years ago. So we'll see what they believe in there. We're going to move on to a team that probably scares you the most in the division, the New York Giants. Obviously picking up Saquon Barkley's big, but they shored up that line, drafting Will Hernandez, picking up Nate Solder. They picked up a whole bunch of people that could help them. They shored up the defense a little more. Obviously Odell's healthy. They're definitely a team that's worth looking out for you guys. Do you see them as your biggest threat?
I think so. With they really buffed their team up with those O-line drafts, and I mean, that O-line, Saquon Barkley's going to do some work this year for sure. And Odell coming back, and if he can stay healthy, he'll tear it up for sure. So Giants, I think, are probably our biggest contender and my biggest fear at the moment for sure.
Now, even though you guys won and you played well, and I hate to say it because I'm a Jets fan, so I don't want to give the Giants many compliments, but if they did a good job, I doubted picking Barkley because I didn't like the O-line. Now that I look at what they did a good job reinforcing that O-line. But if they can get that defense right, they did some things. 2 years ago, that defense is one of the best in the NFL. If they can get back to that, and then this offense is explosive, I think they're probably a more complete team than your Eagles. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't think they're more complete. I think our defense is a lot more complete, even if they turn it around in the next year or so. We just have so many pieces in place right now. Obviously, we got some aging guys going on, and then eventually we're going to need some younger guys to come in here. But I think even in the next, 2 or 3 years, I think we'll still be a more complete team.
All right, so that's Kyle saying the Giants suck. That is exactly what he said. He put down the rhetoric in a nice way from an Eagles fan, saying the Giants are...
My aunt's a Giants fan, so I gotta talk that smack.
So we're gonna go back to this. If the NFC East goes to the Giants in any way, we're gonna go back to this, and we're gonna have Kyle on record. Sure. So we talked some Eagles, and for the Eagles, obviously it was a process, but it wasn't the process to be trusted. We're gonna move on to trust the process. We're going to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. My main question to you right now is there still a process? Are we there? Is this what, you have suffered for years, being the worst team next to my Nets for so long. You guys made it to the second round of the playoffs. You were utterly beaten by an undermanned Celtics team. It wasn't even close. How do you feel coming off of that loss in the second round about just the season in total?
Season as a whole, I'm pretty proud of it. I mean, I don't think anybody expected us to even get like 40 wins this year. And the fact to even get to the second round of the playoffs, I think, is fantastic. It was ugly in the second round for sure, but it's a young team, and I think they just need to get more experience under their belt. Like, there was times where they just didn't know what to do. That's when I think Brett Brown should have tried and calm them down, try and help them, but instead he tried to keep them out there and try to have them figure out their own. There's not there yet, but overall, I think it was a great year for the 76ers.
It was a great year, and one thing that I found, partially an issue, I guess maybe, is you guys relied on Marco Bellinelli a lot in the postseason to make big shots, and it kind of concerned me because that's what you brought JJ Redick for, and it seems like JJ Redick didn't step up to the plate as much as I thought he would have, and I thought that in those crunch time shots that you wanted, the big three or the stretch shot, you should have probably wanted to go to Redick. I think that's why he was there, because let's face it, the stars that you have aren't three-point shooters. Out of Simmons and Embiid's the better three-point shooter. So it's like, right there is kind of like, to me, it kind of concerned me. Bellinelli's going to be 32 next year. He's not under contract. Is he a guy that you guys bring back, or is he someone that it was, thanks for the year, you're 32, goodbye?
I feel like we should try and bring him back just because we have a lack of three-point shooting. And I think the point where he said him making the big shots, I think it was more just a hot hand, and there was definitely times where JJ struggled. So I'm not sure. I think Marco Bellinelli is definitely better shooting on the move, and that's why they wanted to go to those difficult shots for him. JJ likes to hit in transition and off the dribble, but Marco Bellinelli likes those tough fading away shots, and he drained many of them for us. So I think we try and get him, but I wouldn't overextend at all for him. I would throw out an offer. If he doesn't like it, it's give him an ultimatum pretty much, and if he doesn't take it, then let him walk.
Well, yeah, but JJ's also a free agent. He's going to be 33 next year. You paid him $23 million this year, which is outrageous. But he's a guy that is another guy you have to make a decision on, because it's kind of the thing we have to look in the future. Because I think Embiid is about to get paid in about a year or two, because I think his rookie contract's almost done. And then you're going to have Simmons coming up not too long after. You're going to have Marco Fultz, who you hope takes that next step. We're going to talk a little more about Fultz. There are some guys that are on the market that you guys may be able to pick up that are pretty good three-point shooters. So it's like, I don't know if you guys go. I know Wayne Ellington is on the market. I don't know if Miami re-signs him. He had a great year this year.
Yeah, he did.
Guys like Jamal Crawford, he's older, but he can still shoot. There's some guys out there. Now, do you think it'll be smarter if they explore some of these younger guys before trying to go back to a JJ Redick or a Marco Bellinelli?
I think you could explore the younger guys and give them a chance. I think it'd just be smarter in the long run. So I definitely don't think we're in a win now mentality where our expectations are raised, but I don't think we're a championship team yet by any means. So I think we give the younger guys a chance for sure.
Definitely. I think that's, something that there's a guy that I'm looking at. My Brooklyn Nets may not be able to hold on to Joe Harris. And I feel like that's a guy that would fit so well in your 76ers, just in terms of the fact that he's a grit dude. He's a great three-point shooter. Like, if you're looking at a three-point shooter, he's 26. He would go in and blend right there. I think he'd give you what JJ Redick didn't. And he learned how to create off the dribble this year, which is something that was his biggest knock. So I think that's a big guy that you guys could grab. I see Derrick Rose is a free agent. Do you want Derrick Rose?
No. Not even a little bit.
But come on, Derrick Rose is so good.
Oh, Oh man, keep telling me about it. I'll wait to see it.
Oh no, I got your savior right here. Ryan Arcidiacono. Bring him on. Bring him to the team. Listen, I think he had like a pretty big year. He played like 12 minutes a game. He didn't score much, but he played a lot.
I mean, he was out there. Shit.
He was playing. Listen, he played more minutes than we did.
Exactly.
Now, and so, go more into this year. Obviously, Joel Embiid was, the superstar coming back. We all knew about Joel Embiid. I'm concerned with Embiid because he still wasn't, he played every game in the postseason with his injury or whatever, but they were still super careful with him on back-to-back this year. And I'll never forget, early in the year when they were playing Detroit, and I guess he trash talked Andre Drummond, and Drummond made the quote was, "I haven't missed a game in my career. Come back and talk to me when you can play a back-to-back." And, I guess it was Embiid being Embiid, getting under dude's skin, but there is some truth to that. Is there any concern for you with the big man that has an injury history, who plays as aggressive as Embiid does, that they had to really hold back, and, he didn't play a lot of back-to-backs this year? You need to see him play more next year and try and, LeBron played 82 games this year at the age of 73. Yep. Embiid's got to play more. Like, does that concern you?
Yeah, it definitely does a little bit. I think he made progress this year, but he definitely needs to play just more games in general. I'm pretty happy he played all the postseason with the injury.
Phantom of the postseason, baby.
Yeah. So it is a concern, but it's not as big as a concern as it was a year ago.
Definitely not. And we're going to talk about now the second part of your big two, because you don't have a big three yet. And obviously you need a big three to win in this league, at least. Ben Simmons took so many steps this year. I was one of his biggest critics. I've been on this program already before saying if he couldn't lead a collegiate team to the tournament, how the hell is he going to play in the NBA? Again, eating my words, Ben Simmons is a beast. He's not the rookie of the year because you can't sit out a year, get paid, get all NBA stuff, lift, get all the programs, and still be a rookie, but that's for the league to decide, not me. But he obviously made me eat my words. His vision is ridiculous. He's a grown-ass man taking it to the rim. He plays very good defense. He's a gigantic point guard, which is a matchup issue for everyone. But he doesn't even have range past 16 feet, which, makes it real easy for guys to kind of flood the paint and guard him. Is something that you need to see next year? Do you need to see him develop an outside shot, at least an 18-footer, to kind of pull guys back from the paint?
I definitely think you do, because that's pretty much what happened in the playoffs. I mean, they just shut him down because they knew what he was about. We can't shoot outside the paint, so he definitely needs to develop at least a little bit of a shot to just change it up on people so he's not as predictable.
Now, good news for you, a few guys that didn't have a great long-distance shot coming into the league. Someone by the name of Michael Jordan. He had a pretty bad three-point shot. He wasn't known as a good shooter. He was a mid-range guy. He was a back-to-the-basket guy. Someone else by the name of Kobe Bryant didn't have a really good long-range shot. Both of those guys, I think, have become okay. And, some other guy who I think is going to win another NBA championship this year, LeBron James, had a really bad outside shot when he came into the league. And now look at him. He drains threes in people's faces from, beyond the court. So I think there's a chance. If Simmons doesn't get that shot next year, is there going to be a lot of criticism from him on the fans' end?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't think so. I think it's a three-point shooters league nowadays. But I think just adding more to your game is good. So I can't see him getting a lot of criticism for that. Just being able to expand your floor and improve upon your own game, it's huge.
Now, you guys have a little bit of an issue because Ben Simmons is a natural point guard. And the guy that you drafted, who barely played this year, but when he did play, looked like he was playing okay, Marco Fultz, another point guard. If he comes in training camp is healthy, starts the season next year, plays well coming off the bench, could you see them sliding Ben Simmons down and letting Marco take over, or have Marco shoot off the side of him? What do you see as a best case scenario for another guy who you obviously want to develop into one of your stars?
If he comes comes off well and he's doing good. I think the best case is to put him at the 2 spot maybe, because you just can't pass a Ben Simmons passing. It's unreal. That's what you want for your point guard. Just amazing vision. You can't teach that stuff. Markelle Fultz is a big question mark for me. I'm just not 100% sure on what his role is here. But I would like to see him play at the 2 probably. I think that's the best case for him at the moment.
Now, would his value be gaining value to be traded, to have that coveted, was a former number 1 pick type of deal, and, he played well, so, give us your number 1 pick for him type of deal to maybe even a contending team or a team that's floating bubble to try and get another pick?
I mean, maybe. I think you keep him for another year and see how he plays. I don't think you dish him out right away.
So hang on to Markelle Fultz. I mean, I don't know much about Markelle Fultz. I remember watching that video where he had the worst shot probably. Like, he looked like Charles Barkley's drive. That was the way his shot looked. It's like ugly.
Disgusting.
It looked better when he actually started to play. I have to say that. His stroke he looked like he actually knew how to play basketball, which for a little bit, it looked like he just, he looked like a member of like the Space Jam guys where they stole his talent. Like, that's literally what I equated to when he was like, it looked like he just had no talent.
Yeah, it was pretty bad for a while, but it definitely did get better as he started playing, and he definitely drained some shots I did not think he was going to be able to drain, but he looked pretty good when he did play.
He did. I thought he looked absolutely, he looked like a player when he did play. I'm not going to say that he looked ready to take on the NBA. It's such a small sample, and once guys figure him out a little bit, then we'll see how he adjusts to other guys really playing D on him. So, like you said, I think you let him play a little bit, maybe hold on to him for a year, but, like you said, it's that slippery slope of, do you want to really let him play for a year, and if his value slips, then that kind of sucks. Like, kind of the element of surprise and potential might be better.
Yeah.
Because
that's why I think they want to hang on to him, because they valued him as a first-round pick, so I obviously think they believe in him at least somewhat to be capable of playing at a high level. So, yeah, I think they keep him for another year.
All right, so he might hang out for another year, and that wouldn't be, it would not be a bad thing for you guys to add some depth, especially if he can actually contribute. Now, here's the question of the hour, and I had a while ago, I had my boy Brandon Scoopy Robinson on the program. And it was the first time that I had him on, and he's, a basketball aficionado. The guy knows his stuff. We threw around, where does LeBron James end up after this year? I really think that he's playing the game, that he's playing everyone. I know he doesn't like Dan Gilbert, but I know the guy likes money a lot more than he doesn't like Dan Gilbert. And everyone says he has no loyalties to Cleveland, which, again, I think is kind of false. The guy eats, sleeps, and breathes Akron, Ohio. I think he's playing everyone. I think he's going to try and get more money from this TV deal. But a real possibility that Scoop has been not only on my podcast, but going around saying to almost everyone, is that there's a real possibility that LeBron lands in Philly. Now, just why? Why would he want to go? Why do people want to go to Philly all of a sudden?
Oh, man, I mean, it's turned around in Philly. You got this young talent coming in. You turn around the worst record in the NBA to a 50-win season in like 2 years. That's insane.
Now, but it's crazy because people want to go to Philly. Doesn't everyone realize that Philly is literally, they can rename every single Philly team the South Jersey Eagles, the South Jersey Sixers, because Philadelphia's fan base is South Jersey.
Oh, yeah. A lot of it is. I see it all the time here.
It's ridiculous, and I can't stand it. And it's like, you look at it, and it's like, so people are going down there. They're loving this Philadelphia stuff right now, but they're just, I don't know, they're just mean people. Philadelphia fans are just mean people. You're one of the nicest Philadelphia fans I ever met.
Yeah. I went to a Phillies World Series game in '08, and there were some mean people there.
Listen, one of the meanest people I know is my good buddy Miguel Rodriguez. He's a diehard Eagles fan, and I've always told him that, he has no soul, and that's why the Eagles haven't done anything. And I'll never forget, when I was back in the day, also my good friend Melissa Honey, her brother Tom Honey, they're all Eagles fans, and I shared this post on Facebook that it said, it was like, Eagles fans, I would give you a Super Bowl if you weren't such terrible people. And underneath it, it was like, sign God. So it was like, it was just something that like that. And it's like, but, man, it burns me, Kyle. It burns me that you have success before my sports teams do.
It's fantastic. Finally be able to see it. It's amazing.
Now, I mentioned LeBron. What do you think the realistic chances are him coming to Philly?
I would absolutely, I would love for him to come to Philly.
I think anyone would love for him to come to his damn team. Like that is LeBron.
Yeah, that's just amazing. It gets me giddy just to think about it. That'd be absolutely insane.
Could you imagine?
It's actually going to happen. I don't know. I think he's a diehard Ohio fan, and I don't know. I think he wants to stay in Ohio. I think he likes Ohio too much, but so I don't know if it's going to happen. I'd like it to, but I'm not sure if it's going to.
Could you imagine the training if LeBron came over, grabbed basically a carbon copy of himself and Ben Simmons, and is like, come here, young boy, let me teach you how to shoot. Like, stop.
He talks to Ben all the time. Like, he would turn him around so quick. It'd be disgusting.
Now, LeBron on that team, my thing with LeBron coming to that team is he's going to carry a heavy number. And that's a lot of things that people don't talk about. His cap, he doesn't take less money. He's a guy known for pushing the envelope, so you're going to have to give him everything. And that's one of the reasons why his teams kind of suck, because he demands such a high cap number that you can't bring in too many other superstars. Now, I talked about before, Embiid is going to come up soon. I'm actually going to look up and see when Embiid's contract is, because he's still on his rookie contract, so they're going to have to pay the man. He's going to have bird rights, still going to have to pay him. Simmons' contract's going to come up not too long after. Having LeBron would kind of kill that, and it would kind of make it difficult to really, get him paid completely. I think you actually, let me see. Yeah, I think this is the last year of his rookie contract, so you guys are going to have to pay Embiid. So, and Embiid's not going anywhere. That's just...
there's no way.
It's not. Oh, well, let me see. Upcoming contract. Oh, so he did get the contract extension to 2023. Okay. So he got his extension.
Okay. All right.
And it's like he's getting like $25 million to start, 27, 29, 31, 33. So that's a lot of money going to him. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. LeBron going to you guys is going to prevent you guys from getting much more help.
Yeah. It's going to be a lack of depth for sure.
Which LeBron has suffered from his whole career, but when you think about it, it's LeBron's own doing.
Yeah, but it's LeBron, doesn't matter. he's an animal.
No, it really, and it shows this year. Like, this might be one of LeBron's, might be one of his worst teams, and
he is carrying them. It is insane.
And I love the LeBron doesn't care about what he says anymore. Like in the interview, when there's like, how do you feel? What about Toronto? He's like, I don't want to talk about Toronto. I want to go home.
Like, he's just like, dude, leave me alone. It's great.
And it's like players aren't supposed to say that. Like, especially superstars. They're supposed to be like, no, we're ready, we're prepared. LeBron's like, man, leave me alone. I'm here because I gotta be. I want to go home. I want to go in my bed. I want to go to sleep. Leave me the hell alone. Now, that goes over well in Akron, Ohio, and Cleveland. How about something like that? Like, we had the famous Allen Iverson, not a game, practice, not a game, practice. How would something like that with LeBron going, yo, Philly reporter, shut up, I'm trying to go home. Like, how would that go?
I'm not even sure what kind of response Philly would have for that. They probably just wouldn't care because he's just that good. I mean, I wouldn't care. I think it's hilarious, but I don't know. People like that, the grit and determination from Philly, so it could conflict a little bit, I guess.
And LeBron has definitely developed that air of superiority about him, especially the fact that he wrote himself a love note on Instagram when he was... I highlighted that with Doc. I forget what it was even for, because I don't care. Why were you writing yourself a love note on Instagram?
That's just ridiculous.
His vanity is kind of funny. Now, so we're going to go on to another Philly team, because this is a very Philly-heavy podcast. If people don't like Philly, I'm probably going to lose some listeners. Gotta market this down. I gotta tell Mike Golick to like put this out because his fan base will throw it out there.
Keep it on the low.
This, you know what? This is gonna be like one of my least views, not because it's not good, because they're gonna be like Philadelphia heavy. Click off. But Philadelphia Phillies started off as a friggin' joke. Gabe Kapler is the new manager. He did some really stupid moves. Like, the guy was kind of a bumbling idiot. He's a beautiful man. The guy is in great shape. He's a good-looking dude.
He's a good-looking dude.
But he made a lot of bonehead decisions. But since then, they've started going on a tear. I think people forget that you guys got Jake Arrieta, which he's not what he used to be, but he's still legitimate. He's your number 4 pitcher, and he's 3-1. He's still a legitimate pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the high strikeout guy he used to be, but he's, like I said, he's still a good player. Aaron Nola's a legitimate stud.
He's come out of nowhere. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I watched the game the other night. He was the 12 strikeouts. That was awesome.
Yeah, he's doing the job. It seems like Kapler's, figuring out how to use a bullpen and stuff. He's pulling the right strings. Do you think the Phillies can hold on to this?
I think so for at least a little while. They got the young talent, and I mean, these young guys have been turning it on, and it's crazy. These aren't the guys you think that are going to be like the guys carrying your team, but they are, and it's being so young, I think they can just keep developing.
Well, you have a legitimate star. Rhys Hoskins last year was he had a breakout last year as a home run hitter. He hit a lot. He hit 18 home runs. It was late in the season he came in. He only played 50 games. So 50 games, 212 plate appearances, 18 home runs, 48 ribbies. Having a full year this year so far. He's already hit 25 ribbies. I think he's your future leader on the team. How do you feel about him?
I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be awesome. I think he's going to develop into a superstar for sure. He's just a great player all around.
Definitely, and he's becoming a good guy. One of the guys that's been carrying your team that's a really good player, Michael Franco. Michael Franco has had a hot start again, 7 home runs, 28 ribbies. This is coming off past 2 years, 24 home runs, 25 home runs. He's kind of knocking on that door of becoming that legitimate home run, really good star player. Like you said, there's a lot of young guys. None of these guys are old either. You have a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Are you a few years too early, though, to really challenge? Obviously, the Nationals are struggling, but they're going to pick it up at some point. Do you think you're a few years too early to challenge for the division?
I think we're probably a little too early to challenge for the division. We got some good young guys. I think they need to develop more, though. Nationals are pretty good, so it'll be tough to beat them, and going at it with the Braves is always a good time with the series. But I think we're a little bit early.
Yeah, and the Nationals they've actually been picking it up there. I think they're about a game behind you guys. They're 8-2, so they're picking it up in terms of their play. But like you said, you have a lot of young talent. You have we discussed Franco a little bit and how well he's been playing. Definitely Rhys Hoskins is your rising star. Abdul Herrera is a good player. So you guys have a lot of young talent that really can develop. As long as Kapler avoids some of the boneheaded moves from earlier this year and doesn't revert back. So, we're talking about Philly. That's kind of going to wrap up what we had to say about the Phillies because, it's yet to be seen. It's really early in the MLB season, so we're not even that deep into it. But continuing with the Philly success, which is a pain in my ass that there was so much Philly success. Villanova. Now, that's a team. Have you followed Villanova very much?
I've followed them a couple of games I've seen, but not very closely.
Now, they obviously have had success. It was all over SportsCenter. They're the most successful college team over the past 4 years, and that puts them over Duke. That puts them over North Carolina. That puts them over Kentucky and all these perennial, Michigan State, all these perennial powerhouses. And it's just ridiculous what Jay Wright has done there. Now, you being a Philadelphia fan in general, did you kind of puff your chest out from basically watching Nova go on this title run?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, any Philly team association that's doing good and gets a championship, that's awesome. I mean, add another one to the city. It's cool.
Now, yeah, you guys finally have more champions besides Rocky Balboa. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's about time.
Now, I got to throw it out there again. You know, we're going to bring up Matt Santos again. He would call you what we would say is a fake fan for, you know, your Villanova stance because you didn't follow every single minute of every single game of every player. And you actually didn't, you know, you didn't go out and help them scout the high school players. So unless you go out and you're doing all that, you're a fake fan. Matt is actually, he's actually out on the trail right now for the Yankees. And then he's going to double back.
Scouting, right?
And then he's going to, he's scouting for the Yankees. Then he's going to double back, fly to Europe. And he's going to start scouting for Real Madrid. But
goddamn.
No, I jest, Matt. Matt's been one of the good guys on this program. He's done a lot of good stuff for the podcast, so I jest. But Matt does get on all of us for being fake fans, which is kind of funny. But yeah, in general, Nova is kind of the anomaly in college sports because they're one of the rare success stories. Like I said, they've been the most successful college basketball program over the last 4 years, and they actually graduate their athletes. Their athletes stay for 4 years, which is bizarre. You don't find that in the time of one and done. Yeah, it is awesome. But it's like it's something you don't find in the time of one and done. So it's like really nice to see.
Yeah, it's cool. You get to see them actually go on and graduate. You know, I think most college athletes should go on and graduate. I understand the one and done, but it's cool to see them all graduate, do the 4 years.
It's nice for them to have something to fall back on because a lot of these dudes, you know, if their pro career prospects fall on the wayside, they get hurt. What the hell are they falling back on after that?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
That's crazy.
They're just joining us in the workforce like bums. And, you know, and speaking of schools, that 4-year process, school you went to, University of Central Florida, the true champions of college football.
Yes, sir. Champions.
Absolutely. So how do you feel about the fact that they were robbed of their championship attempt this year?
Man, it stinks. I mean, it's awesome to win undefeated, but they should have gotten a chance, man. It's disappointing. So much young talent on that team, and a couple players got drafted in the first round, and, you know, it stinks, but what can you do?
Now, what do you think? I know you definitely follow them. You like to follow the program because you did go to the school. What do you think the prospects are next year? Do you think you have enough to step up and kind of repeat the magic that you had this year and kind of make a run at that playoff again?
I don't know if they have enough to repeat the same as last year, but I think they have a couple young talent guys that can step it up and at least give them a winning season for sure.
Definitely. Now, do you think they have a chance to challenge for the conference again? Because, you know, that conference is considered, the AAC is considered the sixth power conference without actually being named the power conference, and they've been showing out. They've been playing really well over the past few years. The competition's legit in that conference. Do you think they deserve the recognition as the sixth power conference?
I think so a little bit. I'll see next year if some young prospects can step it up and help out the team in some spots, but you know, I think they could be in the talks for sure.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice. Now, it definitely hurts that Scott Frost, who led the team to all the success, was obviously a great coach with the undefeated season. He leaves. He uses the school as a stepping stone school. With him leaving, does that kind of piss you off that coaches have the ability to just, you know, up and leave? And they can sit there, and obviously a dude like Scott Frost is really going on and recruiting his guys on, I'm going to be with you for 4 years, we're going to develop, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, these guys that are now freshmen, sophomores, juniors, don't get to finish out that 4 years with them. Does that kind of, piss you off that they get the chance to do that, where players definitely, if they're not fitting in the team, if they want to transfer, they have a 1-year penalty?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. It's definitely irritating. I think coaches should at least be locked in for 4 years to help, players like that get through school at least, and or maybe they should get a penalty. But it just stinks for the players to be promised this 4 years of work with this awesome coach, and then he just ups and leaves because he gets a better offer. It's pretty annoying, yeah.
Now, it kind of pisses me off because I like Rutgers, obviously, from being from Jersey as well. But I'm also a Florida State fan. And Jimbo Fisher, that jerk, just up and leaves. So I've gone through this, and it's like ridiculous. Like, yeah, University of Central Florida isn't the biggest program, but Florida State is a legitimate program.
No, they're legit.
And you just up and leave as Jimbo. Like, we got Willie Taggart from Oregon, which I'm pumped to see what he brings. But it's like, what the hell? Like, it's
crazy.
It just
Coaches are jumping all over the place.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that you don't have to be like a smaller time program with UCF that can be used as like a quote unquote stepping stone. Like Jimbo has a national championship with Florida State. Like he has Jameis Winston, who's one of the better guys to come out of Florida State. Like it's pretty crazy what exactly went on. So. Is it safe to say that you're going to be rooting against Nebraska and Scott Frost all year?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye on them. I'm gonna hope they tank this season for sure. It's a personal vendetta now. Kind
of pisses me off. He went into the Big Ten. Like, why did he have to go? Why did he go to the Big Ten? Why can't he leave Rutgers alone?
Yep, it's just I don't know. Yeah, I feel like he could like build something there, build up a school, but no, they just want the paycheck, man. It's all that matters to them.
And that's crazy, and that that can go on with a whole other different podcast about the fact that the money that gets thrown around to coaches, as compared to I've never been a big proprietor of athletes getting paid by like the schools per se, because tuition would rise up crazily and everything like that, and it's already rising as it is. I've always said players should get paid for their personnel, for signing like autographs and things like that. I think that would sure it out, because if you're great and you're popular, you get paid more. That's just kind of how it works in the pros too. Yep. But
no, that makes sense. I get behind that. Yeah, I agree that paying through the schools, I wouldn't enjoy that because tuition is pretty ridiculous. So, but yeah, I could get behind players getting paid for their signs and stuff like that, sponsorships and whatnot.
Yeah, could you imagine being that like film student or even like that scientist that's going to Stanford, and now all of a sudden I have to pay $15,000 more in my tuition because the running back in Stanford is a stud?
Yeah, that's insane. Like, I would not be cool with that.
No. Could you imagine if you were still at UCF and then you had to pay more for this team that just got jacked up? Like,
no. Yeah, no way. After Scott Frost left, I'd be like, nah, you're not getting my money. There's no way. You're crazy.
There would be riots and rallies for small schools everywhere.
It would get ugly.
Could you imagine like Boise State and TCU? Like there would be dumpster fires literally every year with those small schools.
There wouldn't be a college camp. It would be burned to the ground. It would be ridiculous.
It's safe to say that Marist my school would never have to have that issue, because we kind of were decent at football and our guys kind of suck at basketball. So
that's true. Yeah.
Never have to worry about that.
God damn.
Oh man, but we could sit there. We could literally have a whole other like 7-hour podcast on NCAA.
Another hour discussion about that stuff.
Oh my god! But instead of getting into all that, we're just gonna call it a wraps on this, Kyle.
All right, man.
Really appreciate you coming on. It was lots of fun, my man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Once again, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
You can follow me on Twitter, Burnsy977, and Snapchat is Burnsy97.
Again, don't forget 2717. If you want to follow someone different than write the wrong thing, you can follow
some different Kyle Burns,
Some Kyle Burns from like Idaho that is like a potato farmer and just chilling,
They're out there, man.
Definitely. They are out there, but we have the one and only, the real, the best Kyle Burns that's on this podcast. So again, thank you for coming on, brother.
Yep, thanks for having me, man. It's a blast.
Again, I'm Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter at @_Cuesta30. You can find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Spreaker. Hopefully soon we will be on the will be on Spotify and iHeartRadio. And if you're listening, intro beat, credit goes to David Cuesta, Twitter at dcuesta308. Outro beat goes to Joe Hackett Jr. at Joe Hack. Give them both a shout if you ever want any beats. Both of them make beats, and definitely follow Joe because he's a career that's going to take off as a rapper, hip-hop artist. He's good at what he does, so follow him. And again, this is Alex Cuesta, Sports Opinions Podcast, episode 22. Have a good one.